Welcome everybody to Late Night Chill with Console Kits and 19K Fox. And tonight we're talking about Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 3. What's going on, Mandalorian Star Wars fans? Welcome back to this channel. Usually we talk about other stuff, arcades like behind me, but tonight we're talking about Mandalorian, probably the best thing, arguably, that Disney Star Wars has done to date. I was a big fan of the first two seasons. What is this third season doing for me? You're going to find out tonight. We got a special guest, but before we bring him on, I want to talk about the poll we're going to have in the live chat, and I want you to vote on this to kind of help me gauge kind of where you think the season is going. So I want you to do one simple thing. Vote for your favorite episode so far, episode 1, 2, or 3. The one that gets the most votes and the second votes kind of tells me what's the trajectory. Are we going up? Are we going down? Do we have a dip? Do we have a spike? Let me know in the poll. So let your voice be heard. Everybody vote for your favorite episode, Mandalorian Season 3 so far. The show is not complete. I am only a portion, a fraction of it. The other half, the yin to my yang. Justin, Console Kits, how you doing?
This was the worst episode ever.
That's my line. That's my line. What do you? Is it, that's yeah. Actually, for those of you who you know were disappointed by the lack of Fox on the last show, I do apologize, but don't worry. This guy ran me down. My good name was besmirched. My opinion was squashed. I think we'll get into a little bit of episode 2 tonight, so maybe I can justify or clarify some of my positions. It's fair. It's only fair, and then we'll get into the rest of the show.
What are you drinking tonight?
Tonight it is the old standard. You know, it's Jefferson's.
I have some Jeffersons, but I'm saving that. So I got some cheaper stuff right now. It's this.
What do you got?
This guy, the Whistle Pig.
Piggyback. Is it any good? What do you think?
It's not bad.
I've had not had that. Yeah, pretty good.
It's not Jefferson.
It's not Jefferson's. But not every night can be a Jefferson's night. I get that.
Yeah,
I do the same thing. We're gonna have to now. For those of you that are fans of the show and fans of us and others in the space, Cleveland is going to be fun this year. September, a lot of us getting together, not for Star Wars, but for arcades. And
we can do something Star Wars on that trip, though, right?
Well, we always do something Star Wars. We'll find some kind of Star Wars tie-in. But yes, that's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to get together with you guys and have some fun and get in some trouble, I would imagine. So let's say hi real quick to a few people we have in the chat. I want to thank everybody for stopping by the channel, even though we're talking about something a little bit different. This is something that's really near and dear to my heart. As far as pop culture, as far as movies are concerned, Star Wars is really something I've just always loved my entire childhood. I think Justin can also say the same. And I think there's a few people that could say the same, like Carl O saying, let's go. Absolutely. The bad guy, once again, choosing to be bad at this point when you could embrace the light.
He only likes red popsicles.
Green, blue. There's other colors, bro. Come over to our side. It's good. JR says, hey guys, how's it going? MG says typical tonight was twice as long. Yeah, I know. We're going to talk about that. Kept passing out. Oh, kept passing out and having to rewind.
Wait.
It's another problem.
Was he passing out, or
because it was boring,
or because he was wasted,
or maybe he was getting into the a little bit.
He had a little bit of Whistle Pig, huh?
Yeah, maybe a lot of Whistle Pig. Nick H29 says wasn't a big fan of episode 3. We're going to talk about that. There's some concerns. There's some tonal shifts and changes. Lots to discuss tonight. And everybody, I want you to chime in as much as humanly possible.
Please.
If you got a take, throw it at us. Alfred Berger says, hey, smiley face emoji. Happy to be here. We're happy to have you here. The Fist of Love. 1 or 2 fists? No, like sure. I found your lack of Fox disturbing. Well, hopefully that it's gone and it's not as disturbing as it once was. Kurt the Daring says, been a fan since 77. The original OG. All right. You are definitely welcome here. Justin, I think we'll get into the non-spoiler section real quick, just of this episode, and then we'll get into maybe we can talk a little bit about episode 2 with a little bit of spoilers, and then get right into episode 3. Real quick, non-spoilery, lay it on us, brother.
Before we start, I'm going to back up just for a second. I think to be a well-rounded human being, you should be able to have an opinion. You should be able to form someone else's opinion and back up theirs, even if it's not yours.
Okay.
That's interesting, right? Like,
sure. To see where they're coming from, right?
See where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And also be able to change your mind based on hearing someone else's side. Like if you are rigid with your own opinion and you will never, ever change your opinion, that's not a well-rounded human being.
Unless you're always right. Then that's different.
That's super rare. Can you hit a bullseye 500 times in a row without ever making a mistake? That's perfection.
That's not this guy.
More than likely, you're going to get a few on the wall here and there. Okay, anyway.
Yes.
I'm deciding to take a position. It could be mine. It could be someone else's in my family.
Okay.
This was the worst episode of Mandalorian so far. And I'm going to keep that position for the whole episode. And the end, I'll reveal whether it's mine or if it's my wife's or it's my daughter's.
Season 3 or all of the Mandalorian in totality? Wow. Okay. From my perspective, a little less coded, it's better than the last episode. And I think overall it's good. There's going to be some details we get into in the show moving forward. I'm picking it apart. I'm probably making some assumptions on where they're going. But you had some good action. You had some intrigue, I think, and you had a kind of a cool story wrap up sort of at the end. Not a complete wrap up, but something kind of comes to a conclusion in some ways. And I think it's a good episode. I think that so far, season 3 has been pretty good. I think we did experience a dip for season 2. So that's just where I'm at. But anyway, that's enough for non-spoilers, I think. Did you have anything else to say non-spoilery?
This was the worst. No, this was a great episode unless you're a fan of Mandalorian.
Oh, wicked. That's a wicked burn. Wicked burn. So tying that in, my opinions on episode 2 were pretty strong. And I think that there were some points that you made in your review, in your rebuttal to my short video that made some sense. I can see where we have characters that have a moment to shine that aren't the star of the series, and I get that. I thought that was overdone with the 2 saving of Mando. At first, I thought that Mando was drugged the second time that he has to be saved by Bo-Katan. I thought he was drugged down. It's not. He just fell down. He just sank. And I thought that was kind of silly. There's a way you can do it, and they actually do it in this episode. There's a way you can do it to where both can complement each other, both can shine, both can kind of one up and also be upstaged by the other, and it makes it more interesting to me. I had no problem. I had no problem last episode with Bo-Katan coming to the rescue, but to do it multiple times when Din Djarin being captured the first time was understandable. He just fell in a hole the second time. I just thought that was like,
remember, he was weak. He was already weak. He should have rested.
We'll agree to disagree. Okay. We'll agree to disagree. But that was just my only point. You did make some valid points, and I get that. And I did love seeing her wield the darksaber. That was awesome. That was awesome. So enough of defending my fragile position from episode 2. Move on to episode 3. Let's go ahead and start with the very beginning. This is a picture that was from season 2, kind of reminding us, hey, this character is going to play a big part of the episode. We'll get into that a little bit later, but that was just a real quick glimpse of this character. And then we go right into the episode. Now, the episode is an hour long. An hour long. In your just the time, is that a plus or minus in your opinion? The hour.
Hold on. I have to think. I'm revealing now that this is not this whole episode will not be my opinion, so I have to get in the shoes of someone else's opinion for a second.
Got you.
Yes, the fact that it was way too long and drawn out about a story that no one cares about, they could have just trimmed it down and gave me Baby Yoda, Baby Yoda, Baby Yoda, and then I would have been happy.
And more Baby Yoda. Absolutely. Yeah. An hour. Yeah, it's an hour. Just the time frame, right? An hour could be great if it's full of stuff you want to see. To your point, there was a lull in the middle there, right? We're going to get into that. So it was an hour, and when you see that, on one hand, I'm like, great, an hour. That's a lot of content. They're going to flesh out a story, and then we'll see where that story kind of takes us. Now, getting back to Mando, he wakes. This is the darkest screenshot I've ever taken. It's like you could see no detail. Yeah. But Mando's basically getting up. He's got a little sample of water as the proof that he has been redeemed. He is bathed in the waters. Mm-hmm. And him and Bo-Katan kind of just take off. Bo-Katan, before she leaves, she's like, hey, did you see something in the water? giant monster? No. What are you talking about? No, nothing. Never mind. I'm just like, I thought that maybe she could have like, you know, hey, let's get out of here because there's a giant monster in the water.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, why
that
didn't they explain that? Like, why is she holding back and not telling Din Djarin there's a freaking mythosaur down there?
Well, okay, you want to fill people in on the mythosaur. I don't know a lot about it. I just know the name and the fact that it lived in these waters. A lot of people seem to be really excited about it. Probably more people jazzed about that than I am because I'm not familiar with the mythosaur. Do you have anything to add to the mythosaur other than the name? Because that's all
I only know what I've heard or watched in other videos or read online. I don't have any because I read this book. I'm familiar with the mythosaur, but it's long been thought to be extinct and a myth to many people. And so, from Bo-Katan's point of view, the fact that she saw it, the question that she may have when she was kind of talking to Din Djarin about it is, she said, did you see anything living there? He's like, why? She's like, never mind. Well, why did she ask that? We don't know why she asked it. The quick gut reaction of why she asked that is she just wants to know whether he saw it or not. And, oh, he doesn't know about it. I know something that he doesn't know. I'm going to use that in the future. That could be one reason why she's acting that way. Another reason is she's still in disbelief. She doesn't believe in any of the legend or tradition she thinks all of that is not true.
No, that's a good point because she was reading that plaque with a little bit of sarcasm, wasn't she? Before Din Djarin kind of steps in the water, she's like, "And here we go. Yeah, I read this when I was a kid." Great point there.
Right. So we don't know yet, but what we do know is she's the only person that knows that there's a mythosaur in Mandalore. On Mandalore, or inside Mandalore.
I can't imagine that's not going to come up later. But as far as this episode
it has
goes,
to be like,
yeah, it's not even. We don't even see anything more about it. It's just kind of a mention, and we go on. So they jump back in the spaceship. They're going to head back to her planet. He's going to get in his ship, and they're going to take off. This is a quick shot inside. It was a cool looking shot just inside the ship and everything, and the two Mandalorians sitting there. Baby Yoda in the background, Grogu, and then they come under fire, they come under attack, and it's not just some guy in a ship, it's multiple TIE interceptors. I thought this was a hell of a way to kick off the episode. I mean, like immediately, you've got a cool space battle, then it goes terrestrial, they break into the Earth's, or not the Earth's atmosphere, but this planet's atmosphere. Din Djarin, she's like, we got to keep moving. He's like, don't worry, open up the door, I'm going to jump out. He does a skydive move with these TIE interceptors flying past him. I'm like, this is awesome, and then he uses the jetpack to slow down, jumps in his ship, takes off, joins the fight. It's absolutely insane. He's taking them out one at a time, and he's like, hey, there's just one left. And she does this Maverick from Top Gun move where she hit the brakes, flips like just like a 360, just mid-turn, flips
then,
it around.
Zero G drop.
And it was so cool. The little droid in the back is floating.
That scene was better than a ton of Star Wars movies. Yeah, like this whole scene could have been in a movie.
This whole sequence was great. It looked great. The execution was really cool. It made sense that she's got the advantage. She grew up around here. I flew these in the past. She's banking left and right. It was really cool. And then you think there's, okay, well, all right, we took out these little TIE fighters. Let's head back to the base. The base that is no more, because while they were busy, TIE bombers come in and just destroy the place. They just wreck it. And I'm like, what's going on? What is going on? I'm missing something here. And before we can really find out, she's obviously, Bo-Katan's pissed off. She's going to go after these three bombers. And Din Djarin's kind of racing with her, and he's like, wait a minute, hold on. And you see all these kind of like Alien, where they have the little and also the little dots start coming. And he's like, oh, we got too many. There's too many
of them.
Go, we got to get out of here. So that was just this. If you want to go through that, funnest parts, coolest parts, did you like it, not like it?
But you missed the best part of this entire sequence.
What? Tell me.
R5 kept on falling over constantly. It was hilarious. It was the best part.
Poor droid.
He's all like scared, and then what's up with Baby Yoda? Evidently, he's still got his Jedi senses going on because he starts. They think he wants to say, is he trying to say like this is the way?
Boom.
But he just says, "Glah, glah, glah, glah." No, that's him going. There's a disturbance in the Force.
Something's coming. Something's
Attack.
on the way.
And then R5 falls over. It was the best.
It's like you're getting your R2D2 fix with R5. It's really cool to have him there. So it's really cool. Yeah, I mean, who sent the fighters, the bombers? What's going on? We don't really know in this episode. This is such a great, cool scene.
I think there's a backstory that it'll be revealed in the future.
I'm sure,
behind all this?
Maybe Mandalorian season 4. Who knows? It was weird. I gotta say, it was weird. And for those of you that watched it, it was kind of jarring. They get out of there, they hyperspace jump, boom, they're gone, and immediately we're in a different episode.
Right. It basically said, let's do a side story for 40 minutes.
Let's do a hard downshift. You really want to know. I wish they could have just stuck with that and maybe tell us what's going on. Maybe get into more of the significance of what just happened. Who sent these bombers? Hey, why did you ask me if there's something alive in the bottom of the waters? And we just hard cut to something else completely different. We jump to Coruscant, and we've got the guy from season 1, the scientist that was really interested in finding Grogu. And in this little sequence here, he's on Coruscant. Justin, you go ahead. Fill us in. Who is this guy? What are we looking at here?
So this is Dr. Persing. Dr. Persing is the head of the cloning. He's probably the guy that made Snoke. But they have not yet revealed that, but it kind of makes sense. And where are they? They are actually at, what is it? The Coruscant Opera Hall or something. This is where in episode 3, Anakin and the Empire, the Emperor are talking together, and he's talking about Plagueis. So
yes,
that's the same place he's at. He's basically giving a TED Talk on what he did when he didn't work for the New Republic, because now basically this entire subplot that is 40 minutes of this episode. What does it say? The title of the episode is The Convert.
The Convert.
And
absolutely.
A lot of TV series do this. You don't really know who the convert is. My assumption is there's a parallel between Bo-Katan and this guy. Like both of them are going through a tribal change, if you will. One's going from one creed to another. This guy's going from a previous, so there's this convert. But the description of this episode is on Coruscant, former Imperials find amnesty in the New Republic. And so the episode focus is this. This is what the episode is speaking to us. That this is important, this cloning procedure, and we're starting to see what the New Republic is all about. And as they explain it in the episode, they start contrasting the difference between the New Republic and the Empire, which is pretty cool, actually. You get to learn about that part of the story.
It's kind of like seeds or shadows of the Empire. Like these are remnants of the Empire, been given amnesty within the New Republic. They weren't just executed. They were like, okay, here's your path to citizenship, per se. We're going to allow you to kind of come back and be integrated back into society. It was something I wanted to note before we moved on, that he specifically talks about not only cloning, replicating, copying DNA, but taking portions of different DNAs and splicing that together.
Like taking parts of Baby Yoda and putting it in Snoke.
And putting it in Snoke, or combining it with Moff Gideon to become Snoke. Who knows? I have no idea.
Ooh.
I have no. That's been a theory of mine. I don't know. Okay. Moff Gideon, because it's so significant, these two characters, and they're just gone. Oh, wait, maybe they're joined as one. But anyway, so I thought that this begins to go down a trail that makes sense to me. You have these remnants of the Empire. Where do they go? What do they do? They weren't all just slaughtered, so they're still that. So those ideas still exist. And what I found interesting is that they weren't all evil, like the bad guys in World War II. This is people that some of them genuinely thought they were doing the right thing, maybe question the methods, but
So
What do you think about that?
about this guy, I
Uh-huh.
watched this episode twice. I'm gonna break my character, which I've been doing for 20 minutes, which is dumb. That was my daughter talking the entire time, by the way. Now this is me.
Mhm.
This is my opinion. Um, when I watched it a second time, there's and then I watched two content creators. Who was it? Theory and Screen Crush,
Yeah.
both great content creators. Screen Crush said this thing. He touches his ear every single time he's lying. It's a tick. I think that maybe it was Theory that said that.
Right.
But I was like, "Ooh, that's interesting." And then he showed the scene,
Yeah,
this
where actually
clip
does
where
this.
he
Yeah.
he grabs his ear
Mhm.
when he's lying to the droid about, do you have any issues or problems, and he grabs his ear. Now the ear is where the Mando, I think it's Mandalorian, like remember in season 1, season 2, he freed him by shooting by his ear. Like
Oh, yeah. That's
and if
right.
you look at his ear, it has
Mhm.
like a hole in it. So it's
Right.
like he's grabbing the thing that was hurt or whatever. But here's the interesting thing. I watched it a second time, and the very first time you see him grab his ear is when he's giving the TED Talk.
Yeah.
And
Talking
the
about his
phrase,
mom.
yeah, but he
Yeah.
grabs his ear before
Yeah.
his mom,
Mhm.
and he says, "But believe me, all my intentions were good." Grabs his
Yeah.
ear. And
Right.
so it's
Right.
like, wait, are they saying he's an evil man actually? Like the cloning, like I don't know.
Or
We'll
he
see.
or maybe he even doubts his own intentions. I think he's
Yep, could
maybe
be.
in the pursuit of science,
Maybe he
he
doesn't
understands that
care.
maybe you can't be as pure hearted. Your motives can't be pure, um, pure evil, pure good. It's just science is what he's after. That pursuit of that. So I don't know, but it was kind of jarring. Not so much. I mean, it happens and it's a decent. We jump into hyperspace. We're in Coruscant, and that I guess was a little jarring. But what's weird is, like you said, this goes on for 40 minutes. This whole spot, in the episode we're talking about, they never cut back to the Mandalorian at all, and it's weird. So this goes on for a while. For those of you who haven't seen the episode, it's an hour long, and now we are in the massively major chunk. The majority of the episode is this what's going on in Coruscant right now, and it was weird to do that. It's weird to see that, but it was interesting. It was interesting to see some of these characters. Now, what we have over here are some more of the people that are that were in the amnesty program, and they're
Mm-hmm.
talking, and they're like, yeah, that Empire wasn't all bad. I mean, you remember there was some good stuff. You remember, and they were like listing off a few of the things that they looked back on, and they were with fond memories. And one of the things
Reminiscing,
that
right?
the reminisce, like, yeah, remember this, remember that. And then one of the things that the that the scientist recalls that he really liked was the yellow crackers, like these, like if you have MRE packets, if you're in the military, you get these meals ready to eat, and inside are multiple items. And I guess he remembered the Imperial crackers. I don't know, something he liked.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of a funny thing, whatever. It's kind of a cool little scene, kind of a cool little moment. He's very reserved, very shy, kind of comes out of his shell a little bit. They're genuinely, I think, showing him some kindness. I think somebody in the chat said that they were having some alcoholic milk. I don't know. It's kind of a weird, like, I
Yeah.
thought it was
It did kind of
coconut
look
milk
like
or
milk.
something. Yeah, a little bit. But anyway, so he says that, and then he, goes back to his room. Somebody knocks on his door, and then he looks down, and there's no one there. But there's this big black box full of these Imperial wafers that you would think would be illegal. I mean, where do these come from? So that was interesting. You definitely kind of trying to figure out what's going on here. At this point, anything kind of sticking out to you? Were you still asking just questions, or were you getting bored with this at this point, or what?
It was interesting
Mhm.
because the episode did take a turn
Yes.
where we were like fast pace, it was like this big, you know, dogfight, all of that. It's pretty crazy. And then it takes a turn and it feels like Andor for a little bit. But to be
Yes.
fair, even this episode of The Mandalorian, I think Andor was great. This
Mhm.
episode, although doesn't have Mandalorian in it a lot,
Mhm.
it was still like better than I don't want to say better than Andor because Andor was great, but it
Right.
was more exciting because they did we got to talk about this other character, and they could have in editing made choices, and I think some people would agree
Mhm.
that they would have wished, if you're going to tell this story, Do it more like Andor, where that's just a cutaway scene. You just dip in over a few episodes. Like, focus on Baby Yoda and Mando, but then cut away to this other thing that's happening every now and then. And there's a lot of people that would probably prefer it that way. But I kind of liked how they just in one episode we got the whole thing,
front
and
to
it
back.
didn't.
Yep.
Yeah, didn't cut away to any other thing. Meanwhile, over in here, no. It's just like there's only one thing going on right now. And yeah, it was like a 40-minute scene of let's catch up on the story. But I think it was interesting. That's my opinion, not my daughter's. I was actually interested. And yeah, they were doing some character development, kind of like Andor, where it's like, who are these people? And they're actually introducing personalities and how they get along and all that. I'm like, actually, it's kind of cool because Star Wars is revealing part of the timeline that we don't have a lot of information about.
Yep.
And it wasn't like I learned nothing. Maybe you learn nothing about Mando and Baby Yoda, but you're learning more about the New Republic in this era of time.
I think they knew they didn't have that much to do with Mando this season, or not this season, but this episode here. So, like to your point, editing, you could have gone back and you could have chopped up the fight scene.
Yeah,
the action scene could have been chopped up in 3 or 4 parts. Same thing with the drama on Coruscant. You chop that up a little bit. You go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I think the tonal shift by doing it that way would have really been jarring over and over and over again. I think the way they did it this way is probably the best way, because I think there was this weird, eerie mistrust that I had with Elia Kane, Elia Kane, and she is the female that they're really trying hard to make look masculine for some reason. I don't know. I think there's a reason behind that, but it's her whole character is unsettling, because you have no idea sort of where she's coming from, why she's trying to present herself in such a way. She's very you immediately, I don't know, this was just me. I immediately got this weird vibe from her, like she's obviously not telling the truth, at all. And I have a theory about her. I'll get into her just a little bit later.
Yeah, I looked her up as a character, as an actress, to kind of understand what's going on there. And when I looked it up, it started to make sense. So the actress, I don't have it up right now. Let me see if I can find it. That actress, Tracy, I think maybe her name was. This is interesting. She's like a martial artist. Like that's what she is.
Okay, so that makes sense, because she was cut. I mean, you can see her arms had some tricep definition. Yeah.
And you may have recognized her if you saw, what was it? That actress has been in a couple movies recently. She was in the Marvel movie that just came out in the theaters. It's already forgettable.
Ant-Man 3?
Yeah, Ant-Man, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
The Quantumania. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it, no.
I'm
waiting for it to come out.
And so I think you cast her. I wonder if they cast her maybe because they wanted that strong character, whatever, or she's going to be a badass later, is why. Because
it makes
sense.
As
a person, as an actress, she has martial artist skills.
You couple that with the eerie, off-putting, sort of unsettling nature of her character that she's obviously playing. It's weird. I have a theory. We're going to get to that in just a little minute.
Yeah, because it's at the very end of the episode, it really reveals her character. Whew. But also, that last scene we'll get to, right? She's an amazing actress, because when she eats the biscuit.
It's like I said, unsettling.
Yes.
So he has this moment where he bonds with a couple of the characters. There is Elia Kane, and they're on like not a date, but they're walking around. She's really trying to do the best that she can to befriend him. And they've got these glowing popsicles, which is kind of funny, the glowing ice cream. And it's just a quick little back and forth. It's fine. You see that he's kind of got the job of the character in Andor, the boring desk job.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's
callbacks to Andor for sure.
Exactly. He's just sort of punching cards and working on decommissioning old Empire equipment and ships and all this. And he's just obviously not satisfied, because he wants to continue his research. He has to check in with this robot And this begins to kind of not paint the new empire in the best light.
Right.
It's really weird. The conversation, just the questions that the droid will ask. Are you having any bad feelings towards your coworkers? Are you having any bad feelings or anxiety towards the New Republic or any of its representatives? It seems like this is kind of weird, right? A little bit of conditioning, almost empire-ish. I don't know. I mean, and I think maybe a lot of this episode was sort of blurring the lines between the two. What did you think about this?
Yeah, when it started, I thought, "Whoa, he's having a one-on-one with his boss. That's interesting." But then it got a little bit more like drinking the Kool-Aid type of vibe where
Yeah, we need you to fall in line type.
yeah.
Yeah.
What happens if he doesn't say no, right? Like, are you, yes, I'm having, okay, you're going to go back to rehabilitation or something. But this is
Wow.
another scene, right? Where he touches his ear.
This is another
I think
scene.
it's,
Exactly.
they interview him twice, right? They kind of show this is a daily activity. And so he goes to work. And then at the end of the day, they're like, "You good? You good?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm good." He goes to another day of work and it's not quite as good.
Uh-huh.
And then he touches his ear.
And it gets kind of weird. And it continues to get weird. So he's on the fence about wanting to truly help. And I think the character does. The character wants to do the right thing, but he really, really, really wants to continue his research. So eventually he's sort of convinced by Elia to maybe bend some rules,
She's a
break some
jerk.
rules. Listen, we're just gonna. You want to continue your research? Yeah, it's gonna totally help the New Republic. So the two go hand in hand. It's gonna be great. And of course, this guy he wants to do research anyway. So he convinced. It's an easy.
I
sell.
watched it a
It's an
second
easy
time,
sell.
man. He kept on saying no.
Yeah.
He kept on saying no.
He was.
She's like, oh, I can help you get that equipment.
Yeah.
But we would have to leave our perimeter.
And he's like, oh no,
No way.
I can't do it. Yeah.
Can't do it.
But it's eating him up inside. He wants to do it. So eventually, like I said, it's not a hard
like,
sell. But
she's like, if you
no.
really think it will help the New Republic,
Yeah,
then you have to do it.
She's absolutely deceiving, deceitful, and you can just tell. I mean, but she's doing a good job. I mean, you're still the whole episode. I'm like, well, maybe she is good. Maybe she's loyal to the original Empire, and so she's trying to recruit him. But you don't really know. It's weird to kind of tell where she's coming from. You're not really sure. So they decide. He decides to take her advice. Let's go ahead, and what the plan is to go to one of these salvage yards where they have old Star Destroyers, and they have these little portable these labs. And he's going to get some equipment, something small, just to get started to continue his research. That's the plan. He convinces himself this is the right thing to do. In this picture, this first picture, upper left, he's looking in the mirror.
Oh, you skipped the train scene, the 9-minute train scene.
We're going to talk about the 9-minute train scene, which was far too detailed. You think they're about to commit like the biggest crime of all time, and it's really not. It's just a super detailed showing of a futuristic jumping like the toll or the little things that you have to walk through in the subway. It was a lot of nothing. There was really no cool thing that they did other than they got away from the robots that were taking your ticket, which I thought was really not high tech at all. You had, instead of having a person asking for your ticket in the 1920s and 30s and 40s, we're gonna have a robot do it. Well, I guess it's not technically the future, but I thought that was kind of weird. They just ran away from the robots, the droids. They jump off the train, and yeah, that does take far too long.
It was suspenseful for a moment. I think it just didn't have like in the moment. You're like, ooh, are they gonna get caught? Are they gonna get caught? But then they jump off the train, and then they're fine.
That's literally it. Nothing happens. Nobody gets hurt. No one recognizes them, which is, I thought, something that might happen. Maybe their face comes up on a scanner or something to add a little more drama. But it's just like, it's just eerie. The whole thing is kind of eerie and also boring. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was kind of boring. So they go through this whole thing, which is again sort of not really stressful. You see them sort of just walk in, and she just punches a code and opens up the old Star Destroyer, which once again she says, oh, they're decommissioned, but yet they still have electricity, so I guess you can still go in. I don't know.
They run off batteries.
I can forgive it. Space batteries.
I mean,
Space
hey,
Force.
when it's in orbit, it's not like they're
Mhm.
plugged into a cable down to a power source.
They have
Like, they have batteries.
solar panels or something. Regenerative engines. I don't know. Anyway, well, so the whole thing goes on only to have the helicopter. I know it's not a helicopter, but the cops show up. You know, the security detail spotlight them as they're running away, and
Mhm.
he actually gets betrayed. But I missed that slide. I didn't put that in. I want to put that in. He actually, it's sort of implied that she ratted him out, but it's not clear because she stands in front of him and picks up the case that he just stole. And it's just like they exchange this look, but it's just I didn't really understand that scene either. I guess she reported him or called or so, I don't really know, but for some reason, in some way, she betrays him, turns him in. He's cuffed and sent to the electroshock table. I mean, this is like, wait a minute. I'm like, what is going on here? This New Republic doesn't look so bright and shiny and full of hope. It's kind of
No, but they're like,
archaic.
we're not the Empire. Okay,
Yeah,
this
he
is
actually
the
says
scene.
that.
I have to comment on this. I'm gonna try to share screen. Now, I believe if I do this right, yeah, the moment I try to
Got it?
share screen, it probably won't play it, and it will play it. Okay,
Okay.
there it goes. I think it's gonna
Okay.
kick in the
All right,
DRM.
go ahead.
Okay, but the point is I want you to hear. I want you to hear this voice, and everyone in the chat, tell me who you think you hear.
Oh boy.
Okay,
Let's do it.
I think. Listen closely. Wait, it's the
Okay, this is as they're running away.
no.
What
This
about-
is the
Oh, you're going forward. Okay, gotcha.
this guy. Listen to the voice.
But we found at low voltages it can be used to help soothe select traumatic
Okay. Yeah, listen again.
environmental treatment recently approved for rehabilitation.
No,
Do you hear
Dan
it?
Aykroyd.
That's what my wife said.
Okay,
We're like, is
okay.
Dan Aykroyd in Mandalorian?
It's almost talking with his pace and cadence and everything.
Yeah.
That was really weird. I never did notice that before.
Yeah.
So they lay him down on the electroshock table, and they're like, "No, don't worry, we're not the Empire. We're just going to give you a little juice to
Low voltage.
low voltage to for what purpose? You know, it's just like, oh, here we go. Yeah, Jar Jar Binks. No, not Jar Jar Binks. It's we're like they're deprogramming him or something. It's unclear what they're trying to do with this, but they're stressing it's a low setting, it's a low voltage. We're going to give you a little bit of something special and kind of get you back on the right track. And so they begin the machine, and it's these small little electronic waves that kind of go into his head, and his face is pretty okay. He's melancholy. He's fine. Okay. Okay. Well, it's like a deep tissue massage, I guess. And then we the camera sort of pans, and behind like safety glass, you see Elia Kane. She's standing there and she's watching like an observation room, and the technician that's operating the equipment is like, oh, this, for every failure, pointing to him, there's a success that you are, we're so happy that you did this. And so he walks away, and she's like, do you mind if I stay? I just want to watch him. I care about him. And the technician's like, hey, no problem. You stay. And then she just reaches over while he's laying there, grabs the knob, which at the bottom left corner, that picture, she grabs the knob, like from the like the pit of despair,
Princess Bride, right?
Bride, and just
not to 11,
yeah,
or is it 50?
And just cranks the knob, and I'm like, what the hell? And then as she's doing this, and his brain's being fried, he's being lobotomized, she just eats a cracker. Justin, what did you think about this?
Okay, it's all about the way she ate the cracker. I'm going to it right now because
do it.
We can do a 2-second share screen on that, just to show the look that she has when she grabs. Okay, so because I watched this a second time, and it's pretty interesting. She go ahead and share that. And so she grabs the knob.
I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Got it. Here we go. Go ahead.
So her hand's on the knob, right? And then okay, she does the juice, whatever. And then she's cranking it up. She's cranking it up there. She's already looking extremely evil. Look at this. She's great as an actress.
Incredibly
right?
evil. Right.
Yeah. And then she's still looking. She's like staring down that
right.
dude. And look where her hand goes. Her hand goes right to her pocket. Then it shows him. And then that evil look. Yum.
It's just crazy. It's like she's taking like extreme pleasure in what she's doing.
Yeah.
Now here's my theory on her, because that's the end of her scene, and we go on to something else.
For those you get germs.
For those you that's what crank it up to 11. Exactly. Here's my theory, and this is going to upset a lot of the EU fans out there. The original EU, there was a character that I think that they could be taking inspiration from. Mara Jade was the Emperor's hand. And in original Star Wars canon, the Emperor dies at the end of Return of the Jedi. And so she remains, her name was Mara Jade, and she's alive, and she's programmed to kind of hate Luke Skywalker. So in the novels, she's out there still hating Luke Skywalker, and she did all these evil things in the name of the Emperor. Eventually, she falls in love with Luke and they get married. But in Disney canon, the Emperor is still alive. So is this a Emperor's hand character who is not out of work and eventually falls in love with Luke Skywalker, but she's currently employed by the much still alive Palpatine, and that would explain her intensity? Not a Sith, but a Force user and the hand of the Empire, or the hand of the Emperor. It's I think it's somewhere they could go. It's going to piss off a lot of the Mara Jade fans. I think as long as you don't call her Mara Jade, you'll be okay, because Mara Jade was beautiful, had long red hair, she was seductive, and she was skilled. She was kind of like a Black Widow character. This is obviously not that, but she does have the fighting chops, I think that's who we may be looking at. It's unless it's some sort of inquisitor, but I'm not sure.
Where that could work is they did hire an actress that's a martial artist.
It's possible.
Are they just gonna they casted her and we're like, man, she's so good at that evil look? Or when they casted her, they're like, can you work with stunt doubles and play these parts? Because we're gonna need you to wield the saber in season 4, season 5.
JT, I know. Listen, I'm a fan of the original, the EU. I'm a fan of those books. I've read many of them. The story arcs with Mara Jade and the adventures of Luke Skywalker and everybody beyond the movies were great. And Disney has taken a different step. We've taken a different trajectory. It's not going to be the same. I think Luke Skywalker is actually LGBT, according to Disney. So it's not the same Luke.
Is that canon?
Supposedly in a book somewhere that Disney wrote, he liked a guy. And that's why he's listed in the LGBTQ. So it's not going the way it went in the EU. So if you're gonna roll with the Star Wars, you got to kind of be open to whatever they're going to try to do now. This is something that, while it's not the Mara Jade we like, and I hope they don't use that name, but if you take the concept of the Emperor's hand, and like I said, she's not out of work because the Emperor's still alive, this would be something that the Emperor's hand would do. I mean, very evil, like super spy, under the radar, nobody knows, but she reports directly to the Emperor. I think that's something that possibly she was after some of the cloning technology. She takes that back to the Emperor, and the Emperor uses that with his force powers and makes Snoke.
In those stories, was it? I remember my cousin telling me about some of the stories, and it was there was maybe it was Heir to the Empire. I can't remember, but it was one of those books.
That's where it starts. Yeah.
Yeah, where the Emperor can actually do like mind control. What if that's why he's touching his ear? He's actually being influenced.
I mean,
by...
anything's possible. I mean, like some of the Dark Horse comics had a clone of the Emperor, and Luke had to face down a clone, which is where some of this stuff kind of comes with. Disney draws inspiration from the EU canon all the time, but it's definitely possible. And that changes so much, knowing that Palpatine is still alive. He's not in charge of the whole show anymore. Now he can focus his time and his powers on individuals. And I think that if his body is truly messed up and broken because he, got blowed up in the Death Star, he could be using the Emperor's hand, Elia Kane, to do a lot of this stuff. So borrowing a concept, not directly borrowing a character. And then also using the Force, a little bit of mind control or a little bit of influence, maybe not 100% mind control, but some influence there, persuading this person to listen. Don't you want to help the New Republic? Don't you? But they're really just pushing them to do what you want them to do, which is what we saw him do to Anakin in the original or the prequels. That turning of the dark side was not a quick thing. It was a convincing him that if you love, Padme, you'll want this power. You'll want to do this to save others. Sort of the same thing we see happening with this character in a smaller scale, of course.
Yeah, I think this could be interesting because if it does lead to Snoke, I like JT Brunick is saying, I think Snoke is a failed clone of the Emperor. And then you get the clone of the Emperor in the last episode, right? Episode 9. But there was other attempts of cloning, and we've just kind of glossed over that other attempts of cloning. And then you got Snoke. What if in this timeline in the Mandalorian there's a successful clone of the Emperor that was actually really successful clone? And Snoke and the other Emperor are crappy clones.
Well, here's where it gets funky. There's two schools of thought. Some people think, and I think that's what you're alluding to, the Emperor we saw in Episode 9 was not the Emperor. That's not Palpatine. That was a clone. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's the original Emperor.
And a one that like couldn't even walk, right? He had to have like
decrepit. Yeah,
decrepit.
I think that's the Emperor. I think some way, somehow he survived the explosion on the Death Star, and that's why he's just destroyed. And in Episode 9, now remember, this is not EU. This is Disney's take, and I don't know that I'm right, but he says in the beginning of Episode 9, Snoke was just another experiment. He was another one of the. I think, and I don't know because I don't even know that Disney really knows yet.
Right.
Grogu has to come into this somehow as being the most prominent Force user that we see in this time frame. We have cellular splicing now. We have DNA splicing. I have to think that, and even if they don't, I mean, I hope they don't kill Grogu. But why doesn't he show up in any of the movies? But that's neither here nor there.
There's theories on that, right? The new theories are there's gonna be a time jump. They time travel and skip past the movies.
Yeah, he just jumps in a wormhole or something. I have no idea. And I guess it's possible. I guess it's possible. I hope they explain it in some sort of way. But I think there's a lot of confusion as far as Disney Star Wars canon. I think the last movie, well, I think actually the middle movie, The Last Jedi, really messed things up. I think they should have had a plan from the beginning and then stuck to that plan, but they kind of went a little crazy. And so Episode 9 tried to wrap up so much stuff. I can't give JJ Abrams too much of a hard time. He had kind of a tough way to go. I mean, it's like everything he set up in the first movie kind of got destroyed the second movie, and he's like, so what do we do now? So and then how does the Emperor tie in? So that's just my little theory about who this could be. I think that we're going to see I would imagine we're going to have to see more of the Emperor's sort of influence as this series goes on, and then we're going to see the Ahsoka series and all that. I think we're going to see more of that influence,
right?
In my opinion.
So my family didn't like this episode. They called this the Conan O'Brien episode. You know what I mean? She's like, it wasn't even a Geordi episode. It wasn't a Data episode. It was an O'Brien episode.
Wow.
But what is interesting is this episode allows us to have this conversation of, oh, it looks like they're trying to connect the dots, but
Yes.
I think the bad assumption is it's going to be, oh, they're doing cloning, boom, Snoke. I don't think it's going to be that.
I hope not,
because that's the end of the connection.
right?
But they have several seasons left up, to go. I think it's going to be like what I had this one theory. Maybe we talked about this before. It's not that. What's the guy's name? Pershing.
The scientist,
Yeah, Dr. Pershing.
Mhm.
Instead of Dr. Pershing wants to protect Grogu,
Sure.
and we think it's because he needs the DNA, the midichlorians. He needs the genes from it to be able to successfully clone things.
Especially like a Force user or wielder, right?
What if that's not the case? It's Grogu is a clone, and that's his
maybe
work.
like some Yoda. Whoa. Okay,
He is a clone.
he is a clone.
And then we reveal who's the clone of. And then literally there's this epic scene where Luke is standing there and figures it all out and goes, "You're a clone of Yoda. You're basically a baby Yoda."
And then the fourth wall is just broken. That's not a bad idea. Like he's an escape.
They
like,
shouldn't,
science
like-
project, or he's like,
Yeah.
he's like he's part of the work. He's not a source of what they need to do the work. He's actually part of the work. I
Yeah.
mean, that would make some sense.
Or the other idea is it's not all about cloning and then you get Snoke. It's you're cloning and you get the new villain that is the crazy villain that then in season 4 you get Luke has to fight the new villain, which is basically a clone of the Emperor, but maybe he looks completely different. But it's not Snoke, it's the pre-Snoke we've never even heard of.
Yeah.
It's a new villain.
No, that makes sense.
I mean, how many years they have between now and
and that's the thing about the EU. We don't know what they're taking and drawing from the EU. In the EU, there were Dark Jedi that weren't killed in Order 66, and they were out there, and and this where are they going to draw from? But then they got the cloning stuff, and how's that going to work? And then we have a baby Yoda that's all like got the Force midichlorians going on. So what are they going to do with that? I think it's interesting. I don't know where they're going to go with it, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Not knowing where they're going is not a bad thing if you've got good, competent writers. I think the show does for the most part. I think that the 40 minutes in the middle were just way too long. Way too long. You
trimmed it.
Get rid of the train scene where they jump in the turnstiles. That wasn't necessary. But we can't leave the story of Mando completely unrevisited because at the end of the episode they do have a little something. So we see them
glad
make
they
their
didn't
way.
end it.
Yeah. Ending it like that would have been kind of
I have to say, when this scene came up right here,
yes,
my wife called the rest of the episode. Literally right here.
Right here.
At this exact scene. She goes, "Oh, I get it. He's redeemed. She's redeemed because she bathed in the water too.
Like, wait, what?
He's going to go in there. They're
Yeah.
both redeemed." And I was
Exactly.
like, and I had seen it already, and I looked at her and I was like, I didn't see any of that
She's
coming.
so
How did
good. She knows what's going on. So they're back at the place where they're hiding. They're hiding out. Where they have ceremonies in crocodile infested waters for some reason. I'm still kind of funny when you think about it after you watch it. The first episode was really good, but then you're like, well, why would you do the ceremony in Dinosaur Lake? I thought that was weird. But but they show up, and of course, the big Mandalorian is like, hey, listen, you're unclean. You're not a Mandalorian anymore. Get out of here. He's like, no. I have bathed in the waters. I have proof. And of course, Bo-Katan attests to, I was there. I saw it. He was there. I had to actually pull him out of the water. And when she reveals that part, which was kind of funny, when she reveals that she had to jump in and pull him out, on one hand, it justifies the thing I hated about the last episode, which I'm like, okay, now you got me. But then it's like, okay, well, since you've done that, you are now a traditional Mandalorian, which is not something she was before. And they're like, listen, you have bathed in the waters. You can leave whenever you want, but as long as that helmet stays on, you are a Mandalorian. And she is immediately welcomed.
That's right.
And you have this image of her last episode or the first episode sitting on a throne like King Conan, completely by herself, alone, nothing. And in this episode, we see her palace destroyed, bombed, and once again, nothing. And at the end of this episode right here, we see her welcomed. She has a group. She has a family now. I think we'll see her embrace this. And what better way to not have to pay your actors than to say, hey, you got to leave your helmet on.
I know. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, did they go, how do we get it where everyone in the entire show is wearing a mask and we just pay stunt doubles to do like 5 episodes?
We give the actors a little bit of cash, and then it's just all
like
just
you're just doing voiceovers. Just
don't worry about
head
it.
over to the studio that's near
like
your
animation.
place.
You're fine. It's animation. You're fine. Although I do want to continue to see Katie Sackhoff in that outfit.
I know. This episode, I was straight up like, wait, we don't get to see her face for a while?
I know. Okay, but that's Katie.
It's like the best part.
She's really attractive lady. So that's where it ends.
Wait, but where did it zoom in on? It kept on going back and forth. Do you remember that?
I don't know what happened.
Oh, it's good.
What did I miss?
You missed it.
What did I miss? I missed it.
Hold on. You missed the final scene?
No.
Give me 1 second. At the very, very end of the episode, there's a like, look at this. Let me pull it up real quick because it's.
Oh, the crest, the Mandalorian. Oh, because she's thinking about the monster, the mythosaur, right?
That's
and
right.
then it's like the head. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
And it shows her.
Yeah, that's right.
It shows her face, then it shows the mask, and it shows her face, it shows the mask. So it gets you to believe that she's going like, I'm a part of the tribe now, and I know there's a mythosaur at Mandalore, but no one else in this place knows. I could run this place. All I got to do is tame that thing, and then I own Mandalore and this creed and all of the creeds.
And I don't need the Darksaber. I'm good. Yeah,
that's right.
That would be cool. So man, the middle of the episode drug. I mean, it was eerie, but then eventually you're like, okay, this is just not paying off. It got really weird at the end with the whole cracker thing. And the fact that she just completely lobotomizes the guy, that was messed up. But beyond that,
what if he can still remember how to clone though? It's just all his motivation of why he should is gone. His personality is gone.
Yeah,
and
because
that's what they need.
That's a good point because she didn't steal his research. She just stole parts that he just took off of a Star Destroyer. There's nothing there that pertains to him necessarily. That was supposed to be tools for him to continue his research. So I don't know what she gained by getting that container. To be honest, I don't really know what she gained at all, really, because if she did take the container from him, I'm sure she had to return it to the New Republic. So I don't really know what the point of it was, other than to maybe get the opportunity to lobotomize this guy. I just didn't get it.
There's something else we don't know, but the Google Internet's report that Mandalorian costs $15 million per episode, and I think they spent it all on that dogfight. And then they were like,
sick.
Look, we got to fill the watch time. We gave you like basically a movie in the first and it wasn't short, actually. That dogfight, it was long, actually.
Oh yeah. Yeah, then
they're like, we got to pad the rest of the thing because we ran out of money.
because they get their stuff together, they leave the planet, then they get intercepted in space, and they break into the atmosphere, and they have that going on. Then when you think it's over, they got TIE bombers coming in,
and then he jumps off of her plane to get into his.
That was so cool. He does like a combat roll and stands up, and there was this cool scene where he's standing there.
Yeah,
it's like, that was really. I think did I grab that one? I grabbed that one, didn't I? No, I didn't. Yeah, but it was just a really cool scene. So yeah, so we're gonna give them that, and then we're gonna give them like Grey's Anatomy in the middle, and then that's
Grey's Anatomy.
That's what you get, the drama or whatever.
But what's cool, they're setting up something. Like,
I really hope that they are. Yeah,
it's not complete. The story's not complete. Her motivation is not explained. Her just being like, I'm gonna trick him so that I can get a reward, and people will think that I'm a good person, a part of this program. No. She's a part of this program, and they were all there, and they're like, okay, we're going to do this low voltage thing. And the guy leaves, and she cranks it up. She's working for somebody else.
that's where my idea comes in with the Emperor's Hand. But then,
Yeah.
but then what did she gain by
She
doing
has an
that?
empty shell of a scientist that perhaps maybe
Ah,
that you crank that thing up and you can still remember how to do your job, like how to clone and how to be a
yeah.
scientist, but your personality's gone.
He's just like raw. He's just like raw data, and he's like a data stream now. Like he'll just sit there and just answer every question for her, maybe.
Maybe.
And so she can get all the knowledge he has about cloning and continue on. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they can reprogram him essentially
Yeah,
to
why
be
not?
to do whatever. Like we don't want you, or maybe it's oh, you want to do good. Maybe that is true.
Yeah.
We don't want you. We want
Right.
a bad version of you. We want a villain.
Yes. Or just like you said, a complete slave that still retains the knowledge, but just will do whatever he is told.
Because we got to make Snoke.
Yeah. We got to make Snoke. This is the First Order. This is where, in my opinion, this is where we see some of the Empire, some of the remnants thinking that, hey, the Empire did some good stuff. They just didn't quite have it right. You know, you see people make this political statement where, oh, I know whatever it is didn't work here, but you just didn't do it right. If you did it right, it would have totally worked. And so maybe this is how it makes some sense. And I still want to know what, how do they fire back up the industrial, the war machine? I mean, we get to episode 7 and they have a planet that is a killer, that is a super weapon. It's not just a Death Star. It's a planet. It's crazy. How do they get there? How do we get to that point? And I think that you got to start, sowing those seeds now, because I think we're roughly 20 years away from the events of episode 7, I think. So now's the time to start building that up. And if they can tell, if Dave Filoni can retroactively sort of fill in those gaps and make it make a little more sense, it's going to make those movies, I don't know if it's going to make them better, but it's going to make things sort of make more sense. So I guess if you're going to rate this episode, what do you, Justin Console Kids, what do you think about this episode so far? Episode 1, 2, and 3, where are you at? Because we have everybody in the poll, in the chat. There is a poll at the very top. Rate the episodes, or rate your best episode. Rate your favorite episode. 1, 2, and 3. Justin, which one would you pick out of 1, 2, 3? What do you think?
I think it's among one of the best episodes. I understand how there's going to be a popular opinion that this is not my Mando. I understand that.
Yeah.
But it pushes the story forward. It explores new worlds, and it's different. And I think there's positivity to it. I want to say one thing about this. In the beginning of this episode, I talked about how to be a well-rounded human, it's good to have a strong opinion, of course, but to be able to talk about someone else's opinion from their point of view, to see their side of it, and be able to change your mind on your opinion, not always, but be adaptable if need be. There is one thing I left out, a very popular, or very healthy skill to have, is empathy. Empathy is really important. If you share your screen for a second, here's a really cool thing about this episode. This guy, Amid Abtahi, an Iranian-American actor, he gets to go home and tell his parents, I got an entire episode of Mandalorian to myself. Mom, go watch this episode. It was my story that I got to have more screen time than Mandalorian.
Absolutely.
And if you have empathy for this actor, like, put yourself in his shoes, probably a Star Wars fan. And he had these small little bits and pieces in the previous season, but he basically owned an entire episode that was like an hour long. From that point of view, that's kind of cool.
That's not bad.
I wish I was him. I wish I had that opportunity.
That's not bad. It's a good opportunity to have. And yeah, I think he did a good job as far as portraying the timidness and then the willingness to sort of open up a little bit. You see a little spark in him. He's not a complete, like, a beat down puppy the entire episode, I think he did a good job with the character. It's actually sort of kind of a shame that, I mean, he's been, was he killed? Was he lobotomized? Is he coming back? Will he be, it would be kind of cool. I like your idea of maybe he's just a robot. Maybe he's just being used for whatever purpose. And then at some point, okay, now maybe can he regain some of not so much his memories, but some of his motivations, his personality, his character? Could that come back and then
Ooh.
affect some of the show?
He'll start
going
touching
forward?
his ear again.
Yeah. That would be a cool tell, right? Like he's going like the rest of the season, he's just robot man. But then like the last season or two, or the last episode or two, he's just sort of, you see like at the end, like you see that like, oh, what? He's coming back around. And then that could influence something.
I think what's going to happen is Baby Yoda walks up to this guy and, Mandalorian's like, is there anything you can do? Is there anything you can do for this guy? And Baby Yoda is going to say his first words, and it's going to be, your friend is only mostly dead.
If he's all dead, there's only one thing to do. Go through his pockets, look for loose change. If they put the chocolate coating on the date and put it in his mouth, that's going to be great. Because no, you're exactly right. When I saw her turn the dial up, I immediately thought of the pit of despair. Not to 50. Just cranked it up. God, if Billy Crystal is the voice of Baby Yoda, that would be probably the best thing I think in the whole wide world. But listen, that's just my 2 cents. You can take that and maybe $1.50. You can get a cup of coffee. So, would you look at that, Justin?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yo, the sign is real simple, B. It says wrap it up.
Unfortunately, it is that time. We're going to have to wrap this thing up. But before we do, I want to check out the poll. What did you guys think? We got 43 votes. Not bad for an episode. Jump up there real quick. I'll give you a couple more seconds. The poll question was simple. We got 3 episodes this season so far. Could you go ahead and rate what was your favorite episode? Episode 1, 2, or 3? 44 votes. We're going to go ahead and take it. That's good enough for me in the poll. And so let's see. We should have a first and a second and a third place, right? So first place is actually against my better judgment. Episode 2 comes in with 52%. Episode 1 with 25, and episode 3, the one that we're all, it had really high highs and some mediocre lows, 22%. So it's looking like it kind of peaked in the middle for most of the people in the chat. Yeah. What do you think about that? That's surprising.
Well, it's surprising being that you said it was horrible. You said episode 2 was
terribly wrong. Is that what you're trying to tell me? I thought I really loved the episode overall. Maybe I'm a sucker for action. I could deal with the slow burn in the middle if there was more of a payoff. I'm afraid we could have like a mystery box situation where it sets up something, but it doesn't pay off. And that would be disappointing. But so far, I'm optimistic that it's setting up something.
Yeah, I think so. If you look at episode 1 and episode 2, it didn't feel like there was any arc. It was like episode 1's alone.
Yes.
Episode 2's kind of alone. What's up with episode 3? Where do we go?
Sure.
What's going to happen in episode 3? There was the cliffhanger,
Mm-hmm.
but you didn't know what was going to happen. And they were just like, oh, Bo-Katan kept it a secret. And then immediately, even with the dogfight, we're like, well, who's behind this attack? And now we're starting to think, who's the villain of this season? Is it Moff Gideon again? Is he back? Is that where we're going? Wait, now we get this cloning. And now we're sitting here, think of this entire episode, you and I, we're sitting here speculating, is Snoke involved? Is this the story of the Snoke, but it's, many years earlier? Is it the Emperor? You couldn't say any of this in episode 2. You couldn't say any of this on episode 1. But
That's
episode 3, you can all of a sudden be like, this is the beginning of a story arc. They're setting up things that will pay off in other episodes.
Or, like MG says, it's bad writing.
Could be.
Could be. I think, I think episode, listen, although I didn't like episode 2. Episode 2 had a lot of great action. But to your point, now episode 3, we're asking that question, which is a valid question. And I think it may even be the most important question, besides character motivations. Who's the villain? Who's the big baddie? What's the central conflict we're going to see with this season? What is that? Is it beginning to be revealed now? Are we beginning to see this secret agent with Elia Kane, her motives. Is she going to go back to the other people in that little friend group and just pretend like, oh, I don't know what happened. It's crazy. I can't believe he did that, and then try to manipulate the others there. I mean, at first I thought that she was recruiting people maybe to kind of, I don't know, rebuild the empire. I don't think that's her motivations. And I don't think it's clear. And I think that's probably a good thing.
It's the alligator from Happy Gilmore. He's the villain.
Carl Weathers is going to get his hand back. I know it. Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I hope you enjoyed the episode and the conversation. I'm definitely not bailing on the season yet. Justin, do you have any final thoughts?
You can't bail on Baby Yoda.
God, it's Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Mandalorian is cool. I'm digging it. It's probably the best that Disney Star Wars has done so far. Maybe to you that's not saying much. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing on planet Earth, but I think so far I'm interested. I'm sticking with it. And I can't wait to hang out with you next week and be on your show.
I hope
next Wednesday.
This is going to suck. Next
Oh,
week is
boy.
going to be all lore, right? And I'm going to have to do studying. And I have 4 hours to work on an episode, huh?
Probably, yeah. Probably,
All right.
We'll see. But it'll definitely be on your channel for now, unless something changes and gets crazy. But everybody, thank you so much for stopping by and checking out this channel. And we will see all of you next time. Peace.